All right, let's just jump right into it. Today, in our explainer, we're unpacking a really brilliant piece of source material from a sixth grade English textbook. I know, a textbook, but hear me out. On the surface, it's a simple reading comprehension exercise. But just beneath that, it is a fascinating fable about psychology, community, and honestly, a highly clever trick. We are diving into the classic tale of stone soup. Can you make soup from a single stone? I mean, it's an impossible question, right? But this is exactly the hook that sets our entire story in motion. So our narrative kicks off with a traveler. He's been on a long journey, he's completely exhausted, and more importantly, the guy is very, very hungry. And he rocks up to a place with a bold claim that basically defies all logic. Which brings us to part one, the unhappy village, a dark and hungry arrival. Now, context is absolutely crucial for this story to actually work. Our traveler is tired, depleted, and in desperate need of a warm welcome. But instead, he walks into this dark, deeply unhappy village. The streets are entirely empty. The doors are firmly bolted shut. There is zero welcoming committee here, folks. It's just this heavy environment of total isolation and suspicion. So he stops at the very first house and knocks. A woman answers, and her response is this immediate, flat-out rejection. She says, there is no food here. She definitively claims that she and everyone else in the village are just as poor and hungry as he is. This perfectly establishes the deep scarcity mindset gripping this entire community. You know, everyone believes there just isn't enough to go around, so they hoard whatever they have and completely shut out the outside world. Moving right along to part two, the magic stone plan, an unlikely recipe. Faced with a slammed door, our hungry traveler has to pivot. So he picks up a large, round stone right off the ground, knocks on that door again, and casually offers the woman some of his stone soup. Her immediate reaction, total, utter disbelief. She says, "Stone soup? You can't make soup from a stone." She literally laughs in his face. And honestly, can you blame her? The guy is offering her a rock, but that disbelief, that is exactly what he's counting on. It makes her intensely curious. She's never heard of such a crazy thing, and frankly, she's hungry too. That exact combo of skepticism and curiosity is what actually gets her to open her door and let him inside. Once he's in, the physical setup is remarkably simple. She lights a fire, puts a pot of water on it. He places this ordinary rock into the water. When it boils, he casually takes a sip of the hot liquid. And this is the crucial moment where the trap is set. He is treating this rock with absolute seriousness, completely validating the impossible premise he just sold her. Let's look at part three, building the soup, the compounding recipe. We really need to trace this masterful bit of social engineering because it's brilliant. Step one is just water and stone. But then the traveler takes a sip and goes, it's almost ready, but if you had just a little salt and butter, it would taste so much better. Suddenly, the woman goes to her cupboard, finding food she literally just claimed she didn't have and gets them. Step two, check. Then her husband arrives with onions and potatoes. The traveler tastes it again. Almost finished, but it would be even nicer with onions and potatoes. Boom, they add them. Step three, a neighbor smells it, peeks through the window, and is somehow prompted to bring carrots and beans. Step four, finally, a farmer brings a whole chicken. Step five. By constantly telling them the soup is almost perfect, he's actively making them willingly contribute the exact food they were previously hiding. What's really amazing here is that the skepticism doesn't just vanish right away. When the husband first walks in and asks what they are making, his immediate reaction is impossible. Yet literally moments later, he's at the counter washing and cutting his own onions and potatoes to drop into the pot. The psychological momentum the traveler has built completely overrides the villager's logical doubts. And then we hit the sensory turning point of the story. The soup is no longer just some weird experiment happening behind a closed door. This delicious aroma is actively drifting out the windows and floating down the street. It acts as this invisible invitation, drawing the isolated villagers completely out of their homes and toward a shared experience. Which leads us to part four, the delicious feast, a village united. The soup is finally finished, and the traveler serves a massive bowl to every single villager. They are absolutely amazed, crying out, "It's magic!" But think about the wild irony here. They are literally eating a hearty soup made of their own butter, their own vegetables, and their own chicken, yet they still believe the rock is what made it delicious. They are literally asking where they can get a magic stone of their own. To answer their question, the traveler simply shakes his head and pulls the stone right out of the pot. He shows it to everyone. It hasn't dissolved. It hasn't magically imparted any mystical flavors. It is perfectly, completely whole. This is the critical moment of realization. The text tells us that seeing this totally ordinary rock forces the villagers to finally understand the truth. Let's wrap it up with part 5, the true lesson, the real magic revealed. So what is the actual takeaway from this grand trick? Well, the real magic was obviously never the stone. It was the transformative power of community contribution. The stone was really just an excuse, a clever catalyst that allowed these people to bypass their fear and their scarcity mindset. It gave them a safe, curious reason to bring out what they were hoarding and pool it together for the greater good. Just think about the stark contrast for a second. Before the traveler arrived, the village was dark, unhappy, and totally closed off. But from that day on, the villagers actually shared what they had with each other. The ultimate result? The village became a happy place. An entire community's culture shifted from isolation to generosity, all because of a literal rock and a pot of boiling water. Because our source material today is an educational textbook, it naturally includes a moment to pause and reflect on what we've just absorbed. And honestly, I think it's highly valuable for us to do the exact same thing right now. Let's quickly run through these questions to really cement the story in our minds. First, why didn't the woman give food initially? Well, because of a deep scarcity mindset. She firmly believed they were all poor and had absolutely nothing extra. Next, what was added to the pot? We had salt, butter, onions, potatoes, carrots, beans, and finally chicken. Why did they come out of their homes? That irresistible, delicious smell drifting right down the street. Was it really made of stone? Of course not. The stone was just a psychological trick to get them to share. And finally, how did it become a happy place? By realizing that when they shared what little they had, they actually created abundance for everyone. I want to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought. Our traveler didn't have any actual resources. He just had a stone and a profoundly deep understanding of human nature. He gave people a compelling reason to contribute. So in your own life, maybe in your workplace or in your neighborhood, what is your stone? What simple, unifying idea can you introduce that actually encourages the people around you to open their doors, share what they have, and turn a quiet, unhappy street into a vibrant feast? Think about that for a bit. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I will catch you on the next one.